Welcome, my dear friend. I'm so glad you found your way here. I'm Sunny and I'll be your host. Sleepy Time Meadows is a safe haven, a peaceful and gentle sort of space to spend quiet, unhurried evenings to rebalance and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. So tonight, there are no deadlines to meet, no more errands, and nothing at all expected of you. This is your little corner of calm, a quiet place just for you where the world can wait outside just a little longer. So if you're already tucked in beneath a warm blanket, perhaps resting in your favorite chair, or laying comfortably, stretching out all of the kinks and knots as you lay in your bed, you've arrived exactly where you need to be. But before we wander through the gates of Ashcroft Manor together to meet Clara where she's about to greet the day and most contently prepare a wonderful, decadent tea time for her guests, let's first allow your day to gently drift away. This is a very kind thing that you can do for yourself. You see, your nervous system needs a bit of care, a wee bit of loving attention, so by making a safe and comfortable evening time routine, your nervous system in the days and weeks to follow will start to slowly soften and begin to understand that this has become a safe time to rest, which allows your body to finally unwind and fall ever so gently asleep. So, if you will, let's take a slow, easy, comfortable breath in and a slow, easy, long breath out. There's no need to force it. So just let your shoulders soften a little, let your neck and back relax, and gently soften your arms and legs. And again, let's breathe in. And this time, fill your lungs with a calm, golden light. And then slowly breathe out and let it all go. Let's try just one more gentle breath in. And as you breathe out, perhaps if it feels right for you, let out a long, slow, heavy sigh. Now imagine, as you continue this lovely, slow breathing, with every exhale, you're setting down something you've been carrying today. Perhaps a worry, a hurried thought, maybe a conversation that didn't quite go as planned. Just let it drift far away for now. This is your time in your safe, peaceful, and comfortable space. As we begin our time together, I invite you to leave the modern world behind for a little while. There are no cell phones constantly ringing at the Ashcroft Manor. No hurried schedules, no endless stream of deadlines or rush demanding your attention. Only quiet, winding garden paths filled with luscious scents of roses, peonies, and a hint of cedar and pine from the forest beyond. That the crafty old breeze brought old stone walls, warmed by the afternoon sun, have the most beautiful little chickadees, all discussing where the best berry bushes are. And the butterflies, they have their own agenda, drifting carefree wherever the breeze chooses to carry them. And then there's a few faithful dogs that are waiting patiently by the kitchen door. The smell of warm apple pie cooling on the windowsill. And from somewhere in the distance, the comforting sound of horses grazing peacefully in the lush green meadows. Ashcroft Manor is a place where people still wave as they pass one another. And when they ask how you are, they truly want to know. And where every afternoon tea is never rushed, where flowers bloom simply because it's their joyful nature to do so, and where even the smallest moments are considered worthy of noticing. Here, gratitude is practiced quietly, and kindness is never hurried. And every day reminds us that joy often arrives disguised as the most ordinary things. So get tucked in, and please don't rush. Breathe deeply, and just let the gentle sound of my voice carry you all the way to Ashcroft Manor. And only when you're ready, let your eyes get heavy as you drift cozily and completely off to sleep. Now, I'd like to introduce you to someone rather special. Her name's Clara, and I know you'll get along with her perfectly. But for now, I think we've got to be just a little bit quieter because I'm not quite sure if she's up yet. The first light of morning always seems to find Clara before it finds anyone else at Ashcroft Manor. Long before the stable hands cross the courtyard, or cook, as she's most lovingly referred to, has lit the great range in the kitchen. A single bedroom window overlooking the rose gardens always allows the first glow of the morning to gently peek in. Clara believed mornings deserve to be greeted properly. They've traveled an awfully long way to reach us, she'd often say to herself with a smile. The least we can do is say good day. And she begins each day the exact same way. The windows are gently opened, no matter the season, even if it's only for a few moments. And on this glorious day, warm, fresh air drifted through the room, carrying the scent of damp earth, climbing roses, and freshly cut grass. All gifts from the gardener, who always seemed to appear before sunrise. Clara loves standing quietly beside the window with a hot cup of tea nestled between her hands, just listening. Not for anything in particular, simply listening. The robins seem to begin before everyone else, and then comes the wrens and a mourning dove somewhere near the orchard. And before long, the entire manor begins to wake together like an orchestra gently tuning its instruments. And after Clara dresses in one of her favorite linen gardening dresses, it's covered by an apron with very large and practical pockets that somehow always contain a pair of delicate silver scissors, a length of twine, and at least one peppermint meant for whatever horse happens to meet her first. carefully slips downstairs. She always insists on going into the kitchen first. Clara knows it's the heart of every home, and her kitchen is the friendliest of all places. And of course, waiting there every morning for her, she's always greeted lovingly by her 4 best friends. And each one believes with complete confidence that Clara belongs entirely to them. Bramble, the elderly golden retriever, always greeted her first with slow dignity of an old country gentleman. And Pip, a cheerful little Jack Russell, had never once managed to contain her excitement in all her years. And always bouncing high enough to make proper greetings completely impossible. Now Auntie Hetty, the thoughtful yet quirky bloodhound, always quietly carries Clara's gardening gloves every morning out to the garden, despite never being asked. While the gentle baby Fern, a sleepy little corgi pup whose greatest talent was finding sunny places to nap, preferred simply leaning against Clara's legs until breakfast appeared. And now we must certainly include Oscar, although Oscar is the cat, and technically not really anyone's cat. At least that was the story everyone agreed to tell. The very large Ginger Tom had arrived one rainy autumn evening nearly 8 years ago, and had apparently decided that Ashcroft suited him rather well. And since then, he's accepted everyone's affection while pretending it was an enormous inconvenience. Clara always greeted him with the exact same words, "Good morning, your lordship," and she'd give a little bow. And Oscar, believing that he was the lordship, responded by blinking once before escorting the entire procession out into the gardens, as though he was inspecting his own estate. The kitchen garden quickly became Clara's favorite place in the world. Not because it was the grandest. It certainly wasn't. It was a very humble but charming little garden. Now there were formal rose gardens, ornamental ponds, ancient orchards, and sweeping lawns that stretched toward the hills. Yet it was here, among the neat rows of beans, climbing peas, juicy tomatoes, lavender, rosemary, and cheerful marigolds, that she seemed the happiest. She had the curious habit of speaking to every single plant she passed. "Well done," she'd whisper to the tomatoes. "You're nearly ready." And "Oh my, look at you," she'd say to the sweet peas, as though complimenting an old friend's new hat. And sometimes she'd gently straighten a leaning sunflower before thanking it for trying so hard. Now, before you decide Clara had completely lost her senses, there's an old belief shared by all the most successful gardeners in many places and for many generations, that plants grow the best when they're spoken to kindly. And whether that's true or not, I couldn't possibly say. However, I'm inclined to believe it's perfectly true, and I can tell you this: nothing at Ashcroft Manor ever got into a hurry. Butterflies floated lazily between the lavender without appearing to choose any particular destination. The bumblebees hummed joyfully from blossom to blossom, and every now and then Clara would stop whatever she was doing simply to watch a determined little butterfly settle upon a flowering foxglove. late morning, Clara was completely content as her willow basket had slowly filled with ruby red tomatoes, still warm from the sunshine, tiny cucumbers, fragrant herbs, peas sweet enough to eat straight from the vine, crisp lettuce, and a handful of beautiful edible flowers. Because, as Clara always insisted, every afternoon tea deserves at least one touch of something really beautiful. And Clara smiled as she looked at the overflowing basket. "I think," she said to no one in particular, "Cook will be very pleased." And with her 4 dogs and one thoroughly self-important ginger cat, and a butterfly still lazily drifting through the garden behind her, Clara made her way back into the kitchen at Ashcroft Manor. This afternoon, friends were coming for tea, she told her menagerie of furry friends. The old grandfather clock in the front hall had just chimed 10 when Clara returned through the kitchen door, carrying her willow basket still glistening with dew. And if you've ever gathered vegetables straight from the garden, you'll know they somehow just feel different in your hands. They're still warm from the sunshine. The herbs perfume the air without even trying. And every tomato seems impossibly proud of itself. Clara paused just inside the doorway and smiled toward the bustling kitchen. "Cook," she called cheerfully, "I believe lunch has arrived." Cook emerged, wiping her flowered-covered hands on her linen apron before peering into the basket with obvious approval. "Now that's a respectable harvest, dear," she declared. Although, she added, lifting one eyebrow dramatically, someone appears to have sampled the peas before bringing them inside. And Clara couldn't help but laugh. Well, they insisted on being tasted. Cook gave the sort of endearing smile that only comes from years of knowing and loving someone too well. "The peas said that, did they?" "Quite so," Clara chimed, while Cook began preparing little cucumber sandwiches, herbed butter, warm scones, and a tomato tart that had become something of an Ashcroft tradition. Clara wandered into the pantry. Floor to ceiling shelves held neatly labeled jars of blackberry preserves, strawberry jam, pickled beets, honey gathered from the estate hives, dried herbs tied into fragrant bundles, and enough china to host most of the village. She reached up for a blue and white flowered teapot that had belonged to her grandmother. As she held it gently for a moment before polishing away an imaginary spot of dust with the corner of her apron. "There now," she whispered to the teapot. "You always did enjoy company." Now, there's an old saying that tea always tastes better when poured from a pot that's been cherished forever. And somehow, if you've ever had tea at the Ashcroft Manor, you'd certainly agree. And by now, all of the dogs have decided the kitchen was the most interesting room in the Ashcroft Manor. Bramble had stationed himself hopefully beside the chopping board, convinced that every stray carrot was destined for him. Pip followed Cook so closely that she eventually laughed and declared her the official kitchen assistant. While Auntie Hetty had quietly settled beneath the long oak table, observing everything with great seriousness. And little Fern had already fallen fast asleep near the warm Aga stove, snoring so softly that even Oscar the cat seemed reluctant to disturb her. Meanwhile, Oscar had climbed the sunny windowsill, where he watched a pair of barn swallows darting through the courtyard with an expression that only cats can give, suggesting they were flying entirely too energetically. And Clara, she stepped outside once more, this time carrying nothing except those small pair of silver scissors. "We've forgotten all about the flowers," she said to herself. And after all, afternoon tea at Ashcroft's was never complete without fresh flowers gathered from the garden. So Clara, she wandered slowly through the borders, overflowing with delphiums, foxgloves, roses, lavender, and pale hydrangeas, carefully selecting just enough blooms to fill a handful of tiny crystal vases. Not too many, Clara thought, because Clara believed flowers looked the happiest when they were left in the garden for the bees. All the while, a white cabbage butterfly landed briefly on the sleeve of her dress, and she didn't move. "Good day to you," she whispered. The butterfly remained there for several peaceful seconds before drifting away toward the lavender, and Clara smiled. "Butterflies always look like happy little thoughts," she said quietly. "They never stay too long, but they always arrive exactly when you need them." And before long, the grand dining room terrace doors stood open to the gentle afternoon breeze, clinking the crystals on the huge chandeliers. But the grandeur wasn't the opulence of the dining room. It was what awaited on the terrace just beyond. Perfectly white starched linen covered the outdoor table. Polished silverware gleamed in the afternoon light. Fresh flowers rested in little crystal vases, while the warm scones, tiny sandwiches, homemade preserves, and slices of tomato tart waited beneath embroidered cloths. Afternoon tea at the Ashcrofts isn't simply about preparing tea and a few delicate treats. Clara believes when someone visits your home, you've been given a wonderful opportunity to make everyone's day, including your own, just a little brighter. So she lovingly polished each and every teacup, because someone once took the trouble to make this a beautiful thing. The least I can do is notice it. She arranges the flowers, and not because guests expect them, but because flowers simply bloom for the sheer joy of blooming. And they always seem to have a way of blessing everything with that little joy. And Clara says quietly to herself, "I think we should all try to be more like the flowers." While placing the perfect little sandwiches on the silver tray, polished to perfection, she notices a robin perched delicately on the branch of the hibiscus tree potted on the terrace. She breaks off a tiny crumb. "Good day, Mr. Robin." And Cook joyfully laughs gently behind her, carrying another tray of goodies. "You've named him?" Cook smiled. "I didn't name him," Clara said. "He simply introduced himself." "There," Clara said to Cook as she wiped her hands on her apron. "I think we're ready for our guests." And as if by magic, she heard the gentle crush of footsteps drifting up the long gravel drive, just as Clara gently untied her apron and hung it carefully on its hook in the kitchen as she made her way to the front whispering for everyone to be on their best behavior. She glanced toward the sound, and her whole face brightened before she saw who had arrived. Oh, how lovely! They're right on time. One by one, the dogs made their way toward the front of the house. Though everyone seemed to remember proper etiquette and insisted they weren't going to bark, Bramble ambled along in his slow, confident way, the way only years of experience can bring. Now, of course, Pip raced ahead before remembering halfway there that she had forgotten every polite manner that had ever existed, and then she quickly darted back again. As usual, Auntie Hetty remained very quietly and faithfully beside Clara, and young little Fern stretched contently before deciding greeting guests was far less important than another 5 minutes in the beautiful sunshine. Oscar, he remained exactly where he was, and Clara glanced toward him. "Are you not going to greet our guests?" she asked. And the great ginger cat blinked once, yawned extravagantly, and curled into an even tighter ball on the top of the stone step. "I see," Clara nodded. "You're overseeing proceedings again." And cheerful laughter floated across the garden, up the gravel lane, and right to Clara and her fur-covered friends waiting on the front steps. And then slowly her guests all began to meander into view. First was Mrs. Evelyn Hawthorne, whose hats always seemed to collect butterflies instead of feathers. And following ever so kindly beside her was her husband Rodney Hawthorne, and their dearly loved cousin Eleanor, who carried a small basket covered with a delicately embroidered linen. "My dear Clara," Evelyn called, opening her arms before she even reached the front steps. "I do believe your roses have become even more beautiful since the last time I saw them." And Clara laughed and embraced her warmly. "That's only because they knew you were coming for tea and so wanted to impress you. They dearly love your compliments." Mr. Hawthorne removed his hat and looked toward the gardens with quiet admiration. "I've always believed this place holds a little bit more magic than the rest of the world." And Clara smiled. "I hope it does." Eleanor lifted the little basket she was carrying. "I brought raspberry jam." And Clara placed a hand over her heart as though she'd received a priceless treasure. "Oh, Eleanor, is it homemade?" "Of course, yesterday morning." "Then we'll absolutely have to share it today." Have you ever noticed how some people make you feel as though you've given them something spectacular, even when it's only a jar of jam? Clara possessed that remarkable gift. She received absolutely every kindness with genuine delight, no matter how small, because Clara knew a secret. No act of kindness was ever small. And Clara would sometimes consider the notion that gratitude is rather like sunshine. The more freely it's given, the more everything around it seems to grow. And then everyone began to wander slowly toward the garden terrace, where afternoon tea was waiting beneath the shade of an ancient oak. No one hurried to sit down. They paused to admire the climbing roses, and Evelyn again insisted upon introducing herself to each of the dogs individually, even though she'd known them for years. Mr. Hawthorne stood watching those pair of barn swallows circling above the stable roof, "Do you know," he said thoughtfully, "I've always envied birds." "Oh?" Clara smiled. "They never seem to carry anything about yesterday with them. And I suppose if they did that, they would be so weighted down they wouldn't be able to fly." And just for a little while, nobody answered. Not because there wasn't anything to say, but simply because it felt like a rather lovely thought. And just then, a little white cabbage butterfly drifted lazily between them before settling itself upon the handle of Eleanor's basket. Everyone slowed, and no one reached for it. No one wished to interrupt such a tiny visitor. And after a few moments of its silent greeting, the butterfly lifted effortlessly into the warm afternoon air and continued on its mysterious little journey. Clara watched it disappear over the lavender. "I sometimes wonder," she said softly, "whether happiness is rather like a butterfly." And everyone smiled. "In what way, dear?" Mrs. Hawthorne gently asked. "Well," Clara said, "the harder you try to catch it, the more likely it is to find you when you've stopped chasing it." And again, for a moment, no one spoke, and as if by cue, the breeze gently stirred through the old oak above, alerting them to the teapot that was steaming quietly on the table. And somewhere beyond the gardens, horses grazed peacefully beneath the white, puffy clouds. And if you had ever wandered into Ashcroft Manor that afternoon, you might have thought nothing remarkable was happening at all. But perhaps those are the most remarkable afternoons of all.